so much Game of Thrones news lately, I don't even know how you would keep up with it. There are spoilers for the final season of Game of Thrones in this video, so please be aware of that before you watch. Okay, so this is what I consider to be the most important Game of Thrones news from about the past week-ish. I couldn't do it all because that would be the longest video ever. Also, there are tons of interviews coming out right now, so I'm going to have to put out another news roundup video by the time I put this one out. It's just insane right now and I love it. So if you're thinking, wow, she missed an interview from yesterday when you're actually watching this video, I didn't. This is just a week ago from when I recorded this, which is probably a few days ago by the time I publish this. So I'm going to do another video with more Game of Thrones final season news. Oh my gosh. And really quick, there was also 2 promos and a teaser video out for the final season. I already did videos on those. Well, the teaser and one of the promos, so you can watch that if you want to go over that. Basically, the teaser is just for hype. There's no actual footage of the final season in it, and the promos are just hyping drama. Let's start with everybody's sweetheart Jorah. So a lot of us may be relieved to know that Jorah is no longer in the friend zone in the final season. So Ian Glenn talked about his character's interest in Dany and current feelings for her, saying, "I don't know what people perceive, but in my mind there was a significant shift when he lost her love and made this journey to try and win it back, once he won her favor again and was in her orbit. Of course, there's always been a profound love there, but him wanting a reciprocal, physical love has gone, and he was just happy to be with her. He thinks Jon's a good match with Daenerys' best interests in mind. It's a complicated emotion, but I think he feels that they would be a good unification, and he's basically supportive." So you don't have to feel bad for Jorah anymore. He's moved on. Speaking of moving on, did you see that super awesome, slick transition I did? Let's talk about Brienne's actress, because she said a couple fun things about her character in the final season, including that we're going to see a lot more of Brienne in the final season, and she has a lot more to do. "I put my heart and soul into this project and thrown myself into it physically as well, which has been incredibly challenging this year. We get to see Brienne going full throttle, doing what we all love to watch her do. This season we see more Brienne than ever before. I'm delighted the character has been learning from everyone she's been around. There's been a timidness and tense vulnerability that was the opposite of her physical strength. It's been interesting to watch her embrace her intellect and humor and step forward in life and make decisions. I think this is the season where Brienne's gender is really no longer an issue. She's treated as an equal by all, and that's very pleasing." Personally, I'm just glad to see Brienne has more to do, because there were a few seasons there where it got a little bit sad for her character and her lack of having things to do. However, and I said this with her EW caption, I really don't know why anyone would care about anyone's gender fighting against the undead.
You expect me to put a spear in my granddaughter's hand?
I don't plan on knitting by the fire while men fight for me. I might be small, Lord Glover, and I might be a girl, but I am every bit as much a northerner as you.
Indeed you are, my lady. No one is
And I
questioning.
don't need your permission to defend the North.
Everyone has to fight the undead to stay alive. Oh cool, you don't have a penis? Awesome, hey, let's not die, okay? Gwendolyn also said what a few other actors have said already. The Winterfell set was enormous and one of the biggest sets a lot of them had ever worked on. Those of us that followed the leaks closely know they built more to the Winterfell set for this final season. Also, that Winterfell was on fire at one point, but I'm sure everything will be fine. It'll be fine. Next, Jon's actor Kit talked a little bit about his character arriving at Winterfell with Dany, saying, "It's one of the first scenes of the season, when Daenerys meets Jon's family, who is now her boyfriend. It's a difficult situation for him, and I cannot tell you more." Okay, really quick, does anyone else find it weird that the term boyfriend is being used? I don't know, it's weird to think of Game of Thrones and be like, oh yeah, Jon's Dany's boyfriend. Just, ugh. But I get what he was trying to say. One of the people that isn't happy with Dany's arrival at Winterfell is Surprise Lyanna Mormont. So Bella, the actress for Lyanna, shared,
"Is not very happy with the arrival of a foreign queen, but I cannot tell you anything else."
So we'll see more Lyanna Mormont sass this final season. That is until she dies. Run through by a white. It's gonna be so tragic. Grey Worm's actor Jacob shared that we will have time for love in the final season, so if you were worried about a lack of sweet, sweet incest, don't you worry your pretty little head. There's always time for incest.
Jacob said, "There is always time for love. In desperate times, that's when you most want to connect to the people you love."
More Grey Worm Sunday sex? Jon rides a dragon again? I guess we'll see. Let's move on to poor Tormund, who just wants closure, although, I'm sorry, but Tormund's character is a lot sadder in the books than he is in the show, but, you know. I'm not bitter about lack of development for certain characters at all. So Tormund's actor shared that the final season is horrible and beautiful, and on his character, he said,
"He wants closure. All the free folk grew up with the horror stories of the White Walkers, like that story Nan told Bran in season 1 with the ice spiders, except having seen them. This has been the terror of their worst nightmare as long as they've existed. Tormund has confronted them many times. This is the nightmare moment where you have to face centuries of bad dreams."
I will say, for a man that has lost so much and supposedly is facing his worst nightmare, he's surprisingly chipper.
You do know her.
We've met.
I want to make babies with her. Think of them. Great big monsters. They'd conquer the world.
I guess we all have to hold on to something that gets us through the day.
Of course, we got a shit ton of actors sharing what they think about the final season. Davos's actor Liam said, "It's beautiful, colossal." Sansa's actor shared, "There will be more blood, betrayal, and death than ever."
More betrayal than ever is not good. Please don't let there be any stupid, just pointless betrayals. If Tyrion turns on Dany as well, I'm gonna take it out on someone. Probably an orphan.
Jorah's actor Ian said, "It meets all my expectations, but you'll never guess how it ends."
Dany dies in childbirth, Jon becomes king of what's left of the Seven Kingdoms, Brienne dies while fighting by Jaime, Jaime goes to King's Landing and kills Cersei and then dies by her corpse, and Clegane Bowl happens. Not that surprising. Kit Harington, of course, is a bit more pessimistic, sharing,
"I think it will be strong, but you don't want to mess it up on the very last outing. I haven't watched a single series that has a following like Thrones does, where everyone is satisfied with the ending. I don't think that it'll be any different with this. I think it will divide opinion."
That's kind of obvious. You can never please everyone. It's just, it's impossible. But Kit also made it sound like Jon makes it to the end of the season, and in fact is in most of the scenes in the final season. He said,
"The shoot was in extreme weather and just in heavy fucking costumes. I was there the whole time this year. I felt a bit like people were coming in and out and Jon Snow was just fucking there the whole time. You have these in-jokes and these relationships that thrive for 8 years. That's a long time for those jokes to be going, and they never felt old or tired. In the last season, I was like, these are getting tired now. And I think they got tired because we could see the end coming. That's a way of emotionally detaching from something. Relationships very slightly starting to strain, just on the edges, just frayed. Now everyone loves each other again."
Besides, this is really the first time an actor has said that people started to get tired of each other on the set of Game of Thrones, besides actors that were dating and then broke up. It is interesting that he says that he just kept filming while people came and went. So we are getting a lot of Jon Snow in the final season, which makes sense, but notice he didn't say that, oh, a lot of people came and went except for me and Amelia. Yikes. I mean, Amelia wasn't in a lot of the leaked photos and videos, so I have a feeling Dany goes very early in the season. Now, I don't know if this is necessarily a good thing, but Kit said he's happy with how Jon's story closes. Given how done he is with his character as of late, that could mean that Jon was stabbed to death again.
Though I think he ends up alive and ruling something, because when the actors for the Stark siblings were asked who they'd want to sit the Iron Throne, they said Sansa. The fact they didn't say Jon makes me think he is the one that does sit the throne if it's even around at the end of the series. No way is Sansa sitting the Iron Throne, and no way would they point to the person they know sits the throne in the end, unless it was a double fake out. Actually, on that, Nikolai said everything Tyrion has touched has turned to shit, so probably shouldn't be Tyrion on the throne. Also, a weird amount of actors want the dragons to sit the Iron Throne, which I'd actually be all for. But they probably don't care who sits the throne because no one will be on it, so harmless question to answer.
Anyways, Arya's actress Maisie had her own input on the ending, saying,
I feel very satisfied with the ending of the entire show. Every arc came to a really good close.
What actually does worry me is D&D shared their favorite endings for popular TV shows.
Breaking Bad stuck the landing. We always talk about The Sopranos ending, as controversial as it may have been at the time. It's hard to imagine a better ending for that show. Or any show.
The fact that they think The Sopranos was a really, really good ending, I know there were some people that liked it, but for the majority of us, holy fuck. Then there was Emilia Clarke on the last season, and she kind of gave me hope that for even those of us that speculate endlessly, we can be shocked with things that happened in season 8.
I didn't see any of this coming. None of it. I didn't spend much of my time thinking, what is gonna happen? Because I knew whatever I would think would be wrong. Every single part of this season, it's just not like maybe 3 times bigger. It's like 10 times bigger. Truly. Every aspect of this last season is just next level bigger than you think you've ever seen before.
She did say something that is worth pondering, though. She shared,
the fascinating thing about this final season is that we're asking a very big question about power, and I think that this season has gone far and beyond who's sitting on the throne. It's bigger than that. The discussion of what we're bringing to the table is bigger than the throne.
If we could get more philosophy in Game of Thrones, I would give so many props to D&D. Oh, and then there's Bran's actor, Isaac, and his opinion on the show's end.
With something as massive and as divisive as Game of Thrones, there's no way they'll manage to please everyone. There are going to be people who are annoyed. As far as I'm concerned, and everyone else I've spoken to who knows the conclusion, I think we've wrapped it up in a really clever way. We've wrapped it up in the most Game of Thrones way possible. We haven't been outlandish or come up with some strange cliffhanger just for the sake of it, just to throw people off the trail. But at the same time, we haven't done everything that everyone wants. We're keeping some surprises up our sleeves.
Also, Isaac wants to let you know that he isn't the Night King, but he loves your enthusiasm for your theories about his character. He said to EQ,
oh, don't even get me started on it. This has been the bane of my life for the past year. Whenever I post anything, hello, Night King. You are Night King. How are you, Night King? Yeah, I think the thing with Bran and the Three-Eyed Raven is the fact that because he's got this whole time travel element to him, it makes him ripe for outlandish theories. But at the end of the day, it actually is quite cool that everyone is so invested in the show that they are apeshit about it.
If Bran really was the Night King, I don't know. I feel like that would have ruined the entire show and just been so absolutely stupid. What did intrigue me is when he told EQ, something in the script actually shocked him.
There was one particular area where I had to get up and actually pace around the room a little bit and go, what?
I am really looking forward to the million interviews from actors after the final season is over, and they talk about what scenes freaked them out the most, what shocked them the most, what they hated and loved. It's going to be crazy.
Though, and I know this isn't important, Isaac had to be wheeled around between takes because, quote, one problem was I always have fur on my knees on the wheelchair, and they had to set it in a very specific way for continuity, so I couldn't get up between takes. So if I needed to go anywhere, I would actually have to get wheeled around.
I love all these actor interviews where they bitched and bitched about how physically exhausting the final season was, and then you have Isaac going, yeah, I just sat on my ass the entire time and people wheeled me around. Ooh, and just like Brienne, Bran has a lot more to do in this final season.
I think season 7 and 8 have probably been my favorite, because they've been the years in which Bran, the three-eyed raven, has had the most important stuff to do. And it's been a whole new challenge to get to be someone who is totally emotionless, but to try and still keep them interesting. This was the balance we tried to strike. We thought he could become very, very boring. So the challenge was to find that mystery about him without making it huge, but keeping something about him that keeps people hooked. I feel like we've done that.
Lastly, on Isaac, I want to share what he thought was interesting about the final season.
This season, what's been really interesting is that there have been characters who I've been only watching on the screen. All of a sudden, here I am getting to act directly opposite them. It's always felt like you're just a small piece of the puzzle, where now everyone is together. Everyone is fighting the common cause, and so yeah, it's kind of like a superhero movie.
I agree, all the characters together is going to be absolutely nuts. In my 10 things I want to see in the final season, I said reunions because there are so many awesome reunions that we can have and see. Next, if you're smarting that Game of Thrones is ending soon, well, you may be happy to know that a week after the final episode premieres, we're getting a 2-hour-long documentary about filming the final season called The Last Watch.
And delves deep into the mud and blood to reveal the tears and triumphs involved in the challenge of bringing the fantasy world of Westeros to life in the very real studios, fields, and car parks of Northern Ireland. Much more than a making-of documentary, this is a funny, heartbreaking story, told with wit and intimacy, about the bittersweet pleasures of what it means to create a world, and then to have to say goodbye to it.
On top of that, we also have the special reunion that was hosted by Conan and will be on the DVD box set being released later this year, so it's gonna be pretty awesome.
Lastly, here are some photos recently put on the internet of the final season. Not really that interesting. Jorah in Wintertown probably when Jon and Dany arrive in the north. Jon on a horse looking concerned per usual, probably also him arriving in the north. Then we have behind the scenes photos of Cersei getting touched up and Dany getting script notes from David Nutter. And a bunch of photos of people looking concerned. Look at Dany at the Stark leadership table. Sansa is gonna be pissed. But really with a lot of the promo photos they've been releasing, it's just everyone looking so gloomy. I mean, there are 1 or 2 photos of Dany looking absolutely smitten with Jon, but meh.
Oh, and Kit Harington cried the most when they did the initial script read, and Amelia thought it was cute, but Sophie called him a pansy. Well, okay, that was your Game of Thrones news for the most part from the past week. Like, subscribe, and holy shit, we are almost there.